Dude, you remember that P3DO that came up on my life, Phil Young?
Oh, yeah, gross.
He's like in my comment section on YouTube.
Block him.
Gross.
Block him.
The chat's giving him hell. Like
They better be.
I'm almost like enjoying like the fact that he's not blocked. So then my entire chat is just like making fun of him for as
But you
long as he's
remember, like, he
mentioning.
kind of likes that, so like we should probably like block him because.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yo, what's up? How old are you?
Hello, I'm 19. How you guys doing?
Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Why did you vote for Donald Trump?
I voted for him to bring manufacturing back to the country
Okay. What makes you think you'd bring back manufacturing?
with tariffs.
Okay. So you think that that's going to bring back a greater level of overall jobs or just in manufacturing?
Just in manufacturing,
Why do you only care about manufacturing?
because I think
Because
it's
you know that
critical.
those are lower wages on average compared to service sector jobs.
Well, I think it's more critical that we have a country that produces stuff rather than just have a million insurance companies.
You would also prefer an economy that has lower wages?
Well, if that's what it has to take, then yeah, I
Uh,
guess so.
okay, well then why do
But
you want more production if it's going to entail lower wages?
because for national security,
How is it national? How is that producing any national security if we put these different types of tariffs on our allies?
because we need to be able to produce our own ships, we need to be able to produce our own
Why? They're
cars.
our allies.
It doesn't matter. We still need to be able to produce stuff.
Why do we need to produce those things if our allies will be able to trade it to us?
So if we get into a war with China, South Korea
Our
builds off,
allies will be there, right?
right? Well,
Oh wait, you don't think that there are allies anymore?
there is no such thing as allies within countries.
Oh, so there's no allies in the world. We're not allied
There's
with
allies,
Canada.
but Germany and the Soviet Union were allies before World War
Hey,
II,
I have a
and look how
question. Is
that turned out.
Do you think we're allies with Canada?
We are allies with Canada, but that doesn't mean
You
it
just
can't change.
contradicted yourself, dude.
Well, that doesn't mean it
by the
can't
way,
change in the
I'd like to point
future.
out like such isolationist ideas are actually like really bad for the success of America.
How?
How a big reason why America is as successful as it is because of our engagement within global commerce. Like when we impose tariffs on every other country in the world and we promote ideas like we need to be doing it all ourselves, like we're just further regressing the state of our country. Like globalism, in a sense, is good because it allows us to focus on making the things that we're good at making while allowing our consumers to be confident that they're getting the lowest prices they can. I do agree that like we should have isolated strategic isolationist policy to prevent a reliance upon like immoral means of production, like child labor, slave labor, etc. However, blanket policy to promote isolationism just because leads to like terribly ineffective outcomes for the economy as a whole, for the investors inside of the economy. That's why we've seen a lot of market crashes. And then for the productivity of the manufacturing sector, is now our manufacturing sector is being forced to produce things that we're not good at producing or we don't have the infrastructure to, which just leads to more inefficient outcomes from the market as a whole.
So I have a question for both of you guys, right? Do you guys think that there's no bad consequences to trade deficits? Do you think that there's any problem with trade deficits?
No, I don't.
No,
Do
I don't
you?
think there's a problem with a trade deficit. No,
Do
no,
you?
not in of itself.
I think it can be a
So you think that a
problem.
trade surplus is good, right?
I think that sometimes it can be good,
Yeah.
sometimes it
So
can be
when was the
bad.
biggest? When was one of the biggest trade
Okay.
surpluses in America?
Wait, if it sometimes can be good,
Before the Great
sometimes can be bad.
Depression,
Wait, if it sometimes can be good, sometimes can be bad, and there's no general trend, how can you associate it to be good or bad in any type of general context?
And then answer my question.
well, can I answer Dean's question first? You're going to argue that the Great Depression was caused by overproduction
No,
and
no, I was just gonna say that one of the
underconsumption.
greatest trade surpluses we've seen in America was during the Great Depression. Now take it away, Parker.
Well, that doesn't correlate. I think the Great Depression happened due to the bank's failure to pay back the people that were borrowing money to buy stocks. I think that was a bigger problem rather than overproduction and farming. But what were you saying, Parker? What was your argument?
So again, if you don't have any general determination of whether or not trade deficits are bad or good, well then you can't use it as a standard to be able to determine whether or not they're bad or good, or be able to say like, oh, well, a trade deficit is bad.
Well, can I tell you why a trade deficit is bad? So,
Sure.
So you do think in general a trade deficit is
well,
bad?
in general, yeah,
I'm
because
actually
Okay.
curious what your reasoning here is. Why do you think a trade deficit is bad?
so when you think like when I buy sneakers from Vietnam, right? Let's just say I buy $200 sneakers from Vietnam. That $200 is going to foreign workers and the foreign company. And in general, we have a big trade deficit. So the government,
What's wrong with that?
well, if millions and millions of people are doing that, that means that more money is outflowing of our economy than inflowing into our economy. So the government has to cover
Yeah,
that.
but we're
national
getting
gap.
goods into our economy
Well,
that we want.
if millions of people are buying foreign products, that is money going out of our country
Yeah.
because
Okay.
the whole economy is about goods and services. So if I'm buying,
But we get goods.
no, can I explain?
That
If
makes
I'm
people's
buy-
lives.
If
So
I'm
again,
buying,
if I just want you to know, if people are buying the goods, that means they value the goods more than they valued the money.
yeah, but
Do you
that means
agree?
that
So
the
then,
money's
okay,
not
so then
flowing.
why do you want to
No,
restrict
can you just
people
let me? Can you
from
just let me
buying
finish,
goods they
please?
see to be more valuable than the money that they're
Can
giving
you
you?
just let me finish for a second, please?
Okay.
If millions of people are buying goods from foreign companies, that means that money isn't flowing in the American company. If I'm buying sneakers from Vietnam, I'm giving my money to a Vietnamese company, not an
Yeah.
American
Well,
company.
why should they be restricted from doing that? If they
Because
want to buy from a country around the world, why should they be restricted in doing that?
because the
Not
government
everything
has,
can be produced by American companies.
because then that means if there's a trade deficit, the government has to cover that national gap of
No,
money.
they don't. That doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense. What do you mean?
they have to borrow money from other countries. That's why
No, they
China.
don't. That trade deficits do not imply you have to borrow money. What are you talking about?
You
Debt-related
do,
spending indicates that you need to borrow money. And who added more debt-related spending? The Trump administration. He influenced there to be 4 trillion more debt-related spending comparative to the Biden-Harris administration.
when there is more money flowing out, the government has to borrow money from other countries.
Why?
That's why China
Why?
owns so
Why do they
many
have to
U.S.
borrow
Treasury
money
bonds.
if there are more if there's more exports than imports? Why would they have to?
No, there's more imports than exports.
I said it incorrectly.
They have to borrow money, or else there's going to be problems. The dollar would fall. There'd be higher interest rates. We have to cover that national gap. That's why China owns so many
Wait,
U.S.
wait.
bonds.
Go
That's
back,
why
go back. You
China
said there'd be
owns so many
higher interest
farmland.
rates. Wait, go back. Say all those again. There would not be higher interest rates. What are you talking about?
If there is a shortage of dollars in the economy, yes, there would be higher interest
No, that
rates.
doesn't mean that there's a shortage of dollars.
If more money is
No,
outflowing
no,
our
and no, and it would
economy
no.
than inflowing into our economy, there will be a shortage of dollars.
No, there won't. No,
That's why
there's not a
China
Is
has,
there currently a shortage of dollars?
not now because
What was there
well,
a shortage of dollars under the Biden-Harris administration? No, I thought you guys said there was too
no,
much inflation, too many
because
dollars.
I never said there was too much inflation. I'm saying the government. The
Oh, and
reason why there
you know
isn't.
what? If okay, well then are you just saying?
Can you just let me finish real quick?
Sorry, I
The re,
apologize.
the reason why there isn't a shortage of dollars is because the U.S. sells treasury bonds to countries like China and Japan that they have a trade deficit with.
Dude, it's just no, not at all.
That
Most
is
of our
true.
debt is held by American consumers here in America. Secondly, right, it is the case that if we look at the debt, more debt is not added because of a trade deficit, right? We get goods into our economy, right? That is totally fine. If people want to buy goods from other countries, that means they value the goods more than they value the money, which means that there is a benefit to the consumer. That's why they bought it. So why do you want to restrict people from having the freedom to buy goods from other countries?
For national security issues.
It's
important.
not national security. You making it more expensive to buy fucking sneakers, to get groceries is not for national security. It has nothing to do with national security. Targeted tariffs could be related, but that's not going to be the case if you do an overall tariff on practically every country around the world. You have no
Because
clue what you're talking about.
you can subsidize.
You are destroying American business. You are destroying American workers. You're harming American consumers. You're benefiting the rich off of the backs of the workers. That's what you're doing. And you don't give a flying fuck about American consumers, about the American middle class. All you give a shit about is Donald Trump and his billionaire buddies. That's all you're doing. That's who this system benefits, is American businesses that are massive conglomerates, that have huge companies that are going to have reduced competition in the United States because it is the case that there are imposed tariffs to a greater extent. Because it is the case that companies that are smaller aren't going to be
What do
able
you
to
think
shift their
helps
production
American
quickly.
businesses more? American businesses moving abroad to pay
So think of the
child
$5.
slave labor, or American businesses?
Wait.
paying
Are you
military
saying the
workers?
tariffs on Canada are affecting slave labor? And secondly, if you
Not
put
in
tariffs,
Canada, but
wait, by
on
the way, if you
India
put
and
tariffs
China,
on the
yeah.
entire country, you're actually incentivizing lower labor standards so that they can continue to compete with American companies given the imposition of the tariff, right? Otherwise, you'd want to specifically put tariffs on companies, right, that specifically engage in that type of unfair business practice, right, insofar as that they wouldn't be able to actually even operate in the market in the first place. You have to impose it specifically on the business, not on the entire country. Otherwise, you're going to decrease labor standards.
No, targeting tariffs don't work. Baseline tariffs
That is insane. I just explained to you why it was necessary. Please give me any response. Can you repeat to me what I just said? Actually,
that you have to tariff or not tariff, you have to punish the company rather than the country for
why?
child labor because it's going to lower labor standard or some bullshit you said. I don't know.
Yes, it will lower labor standards. Why? Because they want to continue to compete with American businesses given the imposition of the tariff.
Yeah, but the company should move to the U.S. or should invest in the U.S. After
They're not
2018.
going
After
to,
Trump,
right?
well,
Think about it
no,
this way.
no, no.
Think about it this way.
But
It's through an executive order. The tariffs are through an executive order. That means you have 4 years of the production being in the United States more profitable. Then, in the next 4 years, because the economy was doing shit and someone else is put into the office, right, and Donald Trump isn't the candidate, those tariffs are going to be undermined, meaning the tariffs are going to go away and it's not going to be as profitable as it was, meaning it's going to be not a legitimate business decision or that makes actual sense for any businesses, especially that are small, to shift production to the United States given the 4 years. Secondly, right, it is the case that the tariffs, again, still lower the amount of jobs overall because of many of the American companies that rely on aspects of the production process that come from countries around the world, like materials that come from other countries around the world,
to just say tariffs
agricultural
don't
goods,
work is a
labor.
lie. After Trump's steel tariff in 2018, there was over 30
Democrats
billion.
agree. You just said targeted tariffs don't work. That's a targeted tariff.
That is a
And the
target.
Democrats agreed with that targeted tariff.
Baseline tariffs are better because it brings in more federal revenue.
Okay, if you're
And
wait,
it's
no,
less
no,
complicated.
that's horrible.
Yeah,
No,
what do you mean that's
tariffs
horrible? Baseline tariffs give him more
because the
federal
revenue
revenue.
mechanism is
Absolutely.
regressive by nature and it's cost push in terms of inflation. It's going to cause inflation in terms of cost of production for American consumers,
And you don't
which
think
will
trade
negatively impact
and you
American
don't think
consumers.
trade deficits cause inflation?
No,
They
I
okay.
think they're I
That's
think if anything they're deflationary because
so
they cause consumer goods to be less expensive.
no, they're inflationary because it causes companies to buy our treasury
No,
bonds.
no, that means there's more goods in the United States. If there's a trade
No,
deficit, that means that we're getting goods from their country and that
so
we're.
wait,
By the way, I just want to let you know when we're the largest economy in the history of the world and we're a consumer-based market and we're buying goods from other countries around the world, that is to be expected given that we are the richest country in the history of the world and that they're going to be producing goods and sending it to us more than we're going to be sending goods to them because it is the case that they won't be able to consume or demand our goods at the same rate we can consume or demand their goods. That's not an unfair relationship just because of that.
yeah, but it's important that we build our own stuff. It's important to have a commercial shipping industry. I think that's
There's
vital.
a trade deficit between me and my grocery store. Is that an unfair relationship?
No, but you're
No?
comparing
Okay, well
apples
then
and
trade
apples.
deficits aren't bad, huh?
They are you're comparing
You know, we need to get
buying
rid of these trade
groceries.
deficits between
So so
us and
so
our grocery stores.
so I
I
have
should be sending just as many goods to them as they're sending to me. No, I'm not a fucking grocery store. I don't have the
I
goods.
have a
I'm
que-
buying goods from the grocery store.
I have a question for you. Do you think that China does not buy treasury bonds and does not buy U.S. land due to the trade deficit?
It's not due to has nothing to do with the trade
So
deficit.
why do they? Yeah, of course it is. The U.S. is
How does that
forced
have anything to do with the trade
assets
deficit?
because that's what the U.S. gives in return due to the trade deficit. The
No.
U.S. has to cover that gap. That
No. That's
I mean,
just that's them deciding to buy from the United States. That's not in return. You're misunderstanding it. You think that there's like a deal done by the president of the United States, right, of both countries, or I mean, a president of the United States and the dictator of the other country to determine what specifically right should happen, right?
no trade
No,
deficit.
and no, it's determined by the market.
How much money does the U.S. own in Chinese treasury
No,
bonds?
no, all the trade deficit means is that they are producing goods and we are consuming goods. That's it.
Yes, but the government has to cover that gap because there's
What?
more
James, think of the $10.
outflow.
No, it doesn't. You
Wait,
have
wait,
no
wait,
clue what
wait,
you're talking about.
wait,
This is
wait, wait.
incoherent gibberish.
Yo, 1 second. Like, you understand? Like, a trade deficit isn't resemblant of any like thing real. It's kind of just like something that accountants use to understand how much we're buying from somebody else and how much that somebody else is buying from us. Like this gap only like really exists as like a number on paper. If it makes any sense, it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it can sometimes be useful, but it like when you say like a government has to cover this gap, like I don't
You
know
don't
what you
understand
mean.
why? You don't understand why?
I wouldn't understand why a government would have to cover, quote unquote, whatever that word even means in this sense, a trade deficit. No.
Because people are buying foreign products. So the money, all the money that you're paying for is going to a foreign company in a foreign country, and foreign
That's also
workers.
not necessarily true. Like importers turn around and they sell those goods to American consumers, meaning that although the cost of the good
Oh
baseline
my God, why did
is
it cut down? It fell.
sent to another country, like no, it's like not. You still have your profit margin that's going to a U.S. company, and like
Yeah, but a
I don't
minor
understand what the
profit
like. It should. Do you
margin,
think that
not
like U.S. producers should be like restricted from sourcing raw materials outside of the U.S.?
what raw materials. When you're
I
talking
could
about
give you like a
industry,
billion examples, but I guess let's just do this one
lithium.
because this one is simple. Like Ford F Series trucks are manufactured in America, but their engines are built in Canada. Like, should we restrict that?
But what minerals does Canada have to build the engine that the U.S. doesn't have?
You're not answering my question. Instead, you're asking me a
You
weird
should
random
we
one in
should be building the
response.
engines in America.
Okay,
My
so
opinion on
you'd be okay with enforcing that?
it. Yeah.
Okay, why? Like, what's the problem with the engine being manufactured in Canada?
Because it's better to build stuff in
Bay
America.
One, I have a question.
But better
Are,
in what
are all the
sense?
products that you buy from America?
Oh no, it's not. It's not
Why not? Why don't you just buy American goods?
because there is an American product. Because American manufacturing isn't good enough for
You're
that yet.
you're actively you're actively aiding and abetting the same issue that you say everyone else should be forced to abide by. Like you're literally saying, "Oh, we should be forced to buy American products," but you're not even buying them voluntarily yourself.
Yeah, can you turn on your camera real quick?
Can I what?
Turn on your camera and show us the tag on your shirt.
It's probably Chinese, yeah. But that doesn't mean,
Wait, no,
that doesn't
I want you
mean
to show us real
just
quick. I want you to show us. Please turn your camera on.
just because just because I'm buying a Chinese shirt, just because I'm part of the system, doesn't mean I agree with the system.
Then buy a shirt from
Trump's your
America.
president
Why
doesn't
didn't you
mean
buy
you
a shirt
agree
from
with Trump.
America?
Well, oh, because I don't know. I didn't look at the tag. It's probably Chinese, but I just bought my shirt. I
Exactly.
didn't think
You
about
thought that good was better. That's why you bought that one. It was better priced. It's better quality. That's why you bought it.
No, it's
No.
just I bought it because it was the first thing that came up on Amazon. That's why I bought it.
Then also like there's inefficiencies created by like isolationism as you're describing it. Consumers have less confidence in like future markets because they don't really know what's going to come after we start a trade war with the rest of the planet that causes a crash in the future market. Same things with like the markets that we observe on like the Nasdaq, S&P 500, etc., and the New York Stock Exchange. Those also go into the shitter because of reduction in consumer confidence caused by the implementation of these tariffs.
The market's gonna
And then
go up
like
anyways.
because the consumer confidence goes down, like consumer spending also does. That's why like J.P. Morgan is now projecting a recession this year. We also have like the potentiality of stagflation because it is the
Hmm.
case that tariffs will create supply chain issues, or the less goods will be imported, or those goods will still yet be sold for a higher price to maintain profit margins. And like all these are really bad outcomes that like hurt American manufacturers. Not to mention a reduction in our own exports. A lot of American manufacturers and businesses are propped up and kept alive by their exports to other countries. When you start a trade war with the rest of the world then starts a trade war with us, and then our exporters crumble. And considering that, alongside the idea of like mass deportation, forcefully removing millions of people from the labor force, you really have like a continuity of policy that is projected and already has yielded incredibly negative outcomes for like American manufacturing, for the success of the American economy as a whole, which is actually even worse when we want to consider like the success or national security of our country. So, I mean, all things in all, even if your primary motivations in your vote for Trump was the success of the American economy and the security of the country, I might even argue that the American economy would have been more successful and our country would have been more secure if Harris was elected.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Um, First thing first, what policy do you think Harris? And I'm genuinely asking, but what economic policy do you like more about Harris than you do like about Trump?
Well, I mean, like, I think the lack of blanket tariffs in every other country in the world under Harris's plan was good. But I mean, like, other economic policy would include the fact that she at least had something to address like a supply and a shortage in the supply of housing, and the fact that like rent has gone to the fucking moon, and now we live in a housing crisis. Donald Trump didn't do anything to address that. Then she also just like ran on tax cuts for 100 million American workers and the low and the middle class. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's economic policy, in the grand scheme of things, takes money from the poor and gives it to the rich, and serves as a detriment to anybody making under $395,000 per year. And because we're at like pre-French Revolution levels of income inequity, I don't think that we should be furthering the divide. We should be trying to fix it, which is what Kamala Harris said, policy that would have took a step in the right direction to achieve said end goal for. But I mean, this is neither here nor there as it relates to a conversation about how Donald Trump's economic policy has crippled our country and crippled our manufacturing sector, and will continue to do so for the reasons I've already given. But Traceless, thank you so much for the $10, saying show him the CRBF comparison of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's, showing her policies were economically superior to Trump's. I think you're talking about the cost, and yeah, that's another good concern. I mean, like Donald Trump is significantly more expensive for government expenditure compared to Harris, which again is like worse for the state of affairs.
Okay. Well, first of all, tariffs do work. You've seen it with the steel tariff in 2018.
Those actually hurt. Those actually hurt. They bankrupted American farmers.
He said the same. He said the same thing that I just like.
Oh,
just responded
Democrats
to.
supported it too.
Yes, Democrats also had steel tariffs, which is something that like Dean would be like he disagrees with. But like again,
Yeah.
targeted
Well,
tariffs.
how many
Targeted tariffs are also different than universal tariffs.
How
Yeah,
many-
targeted tariffs are like a bajillion times better than universal tariffs.
But how many targeted
even the
tariffs are we
targeted
gonna
tariffs
have?
led to bad outcomes. Like I want to make that one clear. Like those bankrupted American farmers.
We're going to have so many targeted tariffs. We're going to have to target the shipping industry. We're going to have to target the car industry. We're going to have to target the steel industry. We have
Bro,
it's
I
way
wish
more
that we had
com-
Chinese cars in America. They're cool as fuck. We need.
No,
I think that
but-
we need
but-
more Chinese cars in America. I'd buy
But you
one.
understand why we can't have that, though.
I think
They
that we
would
should. Have
destroy
you seen? Have you seen Speed's new whip?
Well, you can't just say, "Oh, it's cheaper," you know.
No,
for
no, it's sick.
consumers.
It's sick.
You
It,
get
I
rid
mean,
of
it like
all the
dances and
jobs.
shit, dude. I want a dancing car.
No, I think it's important for
The car dances.
No, I think it's important that we do have some industries. I think it's important that we do build some stuff. And I feel like you can't have a million.
Did you know
targets
service
that-
sector jobs have higher wages than manufacturing jobs? So
Yeah.
you want Americans to have lower wages?
Well, though, to have a better quality of life. If
That would be a lower quality of life if they've
people
lower
had a
wage,
better
right?
quality of life,
Yeah, service sector jobs
the
have higher
past,
wages.
when we were
Service
building
sector
all
jobs
that.
have higher wages.
I feel like it's better to build cars and stuff than spreadsheets. Wouldn't that be? better?
Service sector jobs have higher wages.
Oh, thank you for the $20
Yeah,
over
yeah,
a
you
dollar.
are
Thank you so
people
much for the
better off
love.
now than they were back then when we lived in a manufacturing economy? Were people better off now? The average age of people moving out of their parents' house is 27.
How do
Are
you
people
quantify?
better
How do you
off
quantify better off?
You think people are better off than their parents? Be honest. Do you think that this generation is better off than their parents?
I think they're headed towards being worse off in certain scenarios and better off in certain scenarios. Like for
what
example,
scenario
if we look at real GDP, real median wages, it's objectively higher now than it was then.
most
That's accounting for inflation. Okay,
most
but
Gen
there are
Z
certain
people
things
own-
that
own
certain
houses.
industries that have become worse, and as it relates to education, as it relates to housing, things like that. Right, those things have become worse, and Donald Trump actually is going to make that significantly worse, not better.
It's because of what type of economy we live in. A financialized economy. We sell all our land because we have to make up for the national gap. If we lived in a manufacturing economy,
But
people
listen, manufacturing wages, like I said multiple times, this is from a conservative economist. Manufacturing wages are lower than wages
Okay,
of service
I
workers. So
have
if
a
you want
question
to
for you.
push people from service jobs into manufacturing jobs, you're going to lower their wages.
I have a question for you. Which European country has the best wages?
I don't know.
Probably Germany. And which European country?
I don't even think that's
manufactures-
true.
Which European? Well, probably Switzerland or a micro country, but Germany is a big country. Which European country has the best manufacturing?
That's
Germany.
me. I don't know.
Germany has the best manufacturing.
I don't, these
So
are
just say-
how are those related? They also have the highest level of they have a higher level of immigration than we do. Did you know per capita Germany takes in more immigrants?
Well,
So are you saying that we should take in more immigrants?
Trump has? Well, isn't Trump
Are
expanding?
you saying that in order to be able to have properly working manufacturing, we need to take in more immigrants?
Isn't Trump expanding the H-1B visa programs? Or am I
That's
wrong?
not having more immigrants. Donald Trump compared to Kamala Harris, you agree that would lead to
And
less.
isn't Trump
Would
deportation levels
is Donald
less
Trump
than
going to lead to?
Biden's?
Wait, who's going to lead to less immigration? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
I don't know. Trump's expanding the H-1B visa program. Harris isn't in office. I'm just going based on what's right now.
You really
Who's
can't use your brain cells. Are you against H-1B visas?
No.
Then what was your point of saying that? That you know
Well,
that
Trump- is-
Kamala
is
Harris
Trump-
also agrees with H-1B visas.
But Trump's expanding the H-1B visa program.
What's
Biden
his,
didn't.
What's his
And-
expansions?
Oh yeah, what expansion?
The gold card.
Oh, shut the fuck up,
Is
dude.
that not an
Go
expansion?
fuck yourself.
Bro, Cope.
Shut
Cope.
up.
Wait, I want to clarify. So, do you think that gold card holders come to America on an H-1B?
Oh, God damn it, dude.
No, that was a joke.
Okay, all right. So then, what are his expansions to the H-1B visa program?
Him and Musk have openly talked about expanding H-1B visa.
Okay, so what are the if it was openly discussed? What are the proposed expansions?
I think it's bringing it from, what is it, 60,000 this year, and then also adding green card diplomas on college graduated students.
So again, immigration.
Well, what was Harris's policy on immigration?
Is it possible that I could hear a response?
policy?
I
Is
actually,
it,
I
is
don't,
it possible
I
I
don't
could hear a
see,
response?
I don't see anything about Trump expanding H-1Bs. I do remember when he said that he approved of them, but he never advocated for expansion. I'm pretty sure that you just made what you just said up.
He definitely did. Hey,
Is
let me
he
say thank you
not-
to some people real quick. Callie, thank you so much for the $15. Nakia, thank you so much. I appreciate the $2. Lillian, thank you for the $5. Doll, thank you for the $5. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Elise with the $50. Thank you so much. Sid with the $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that's base. Sydney, thank you for the $5. Jennifer, thank you for the $20. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Alyssa, thank you so much for the $5. Happy birthday, Parker. Thank you. Pink, thank you for the $6.66. Lacey, thank you so much for the $2. Dawn, thank you for the $15. James with the $10. Kathleen, thank you so much. I appreciate the $5. Lindsay with the $5. Isabel, thank you so much for the $1. And Linda with the $20 on PayPal. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Wasn't there an H-1B policy on January 17, 2015 to change the program up a bit? Or am I wrong?
Under the Obama administration.
And didn't he expand the cap from?
Oscar,
Under-
thank you for
under the
$11
Obama
for
administration?
something,
No, this was
Casey,
in
thank you for the
January-
$20 for happy
this is
birthday,
in
Parker. We love
January
watching you.
17th.
Thank you.
17th, 2025. That's when he expanded or tweaked the
You
program.
just said 2015.
I meant
First week
2025.
out. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Wait,
And
January
also,
17th?
January
That was it-
17th,
that was under
2025. That's Biden.
That was under Biden's admin, bro.
I guess, yeah.
Come on, bro.
but no,
Come
he
on,
has-
come on,
You
bro.
cannot make this shit up, Chad.
You can't make this shit up. Yeah,
has-
that was Kamala Harris right there, sir.
No, it was Biden.
Oh, well, both Kamala Harris and Biden said that Kamala Harris was instrumental to the policy passed by the administration.
Trump has signaled that he does want to expand.
Sid, thank you so much for the $50 donation over on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you for the love, Sid. Sid
And-
says, haven't donated to Dean yet today. Felt weird. Well, Sid, thank you so much for the love.
He
By the
did
way, I'm
say-
gonna run after this conversation. I gotta go make girlfriend for the dinner. Wait, can I make girlfriend for the dinner?
Dean, that's gonna get clipped.
gotta make
That's
dinner.
gonna get clipped.
Gotta make dinner for the girlfriend. Is what I meant to say.
Dean, that is gonna
I'm
get
gonna
clipped.
do some lemon chicken, okay? All right? Lemon chicken, all right? With a little bit of asparagus and some mashed potatoes, all right? All right? And some mozzarella sauce, okay?
But Trump has talked about allowing college graduated students to get green cards, and he has talked about expanding each one.
He has unironically deported college students here on legal forms of residence.
Well, no, I don't. I don't agree with
remember
that.
remember
I don't agree
the
with
student that he had black bagged in the middle of the street and then shipped over 1,000 miles away, ignoring a court order saying that they had to
I
wait
have a
48
question for
hours. Really?
So far, who's deported?
Heidi, thank you so much for the $20 over on PayPal. I do appreciate you for
Can you
the love,
answer
Heidi.
this
Everybody,
question
please
real
show some
quick?
love to Heidi down below in that comment section. You're gonna ask me who has higher deportation numbers. Pretty sure it's
Biden or
Biden
Trump
Harris
per month
administration.
so far?
Biden,
Who have
bro.
higher deportation numbers so
Biden.
far?
Biden.
Biden did, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Who's violated more rights of the immigrants? I don't know,
Also-
man. I didn't see Biden institute the Alien Enemies Act. I didn't see Biden ignore court orders. I didn't see
But I'm
Biden
looking at the
push
numbers.
legislation such as the Lake and Riley bill through Congress to deport an individual on the basis of an accusation of a violent crime in the absence of due process. All I'm going to say is this. I actually think that Democrats don't have it right on immigration either. I'm further left than the Democratic Party. However, Kamala Harris was significantly better than Trump when it came to immigration policy.
So I think I know your policy. You believe in endless immigration
Yeah, essentially, but with like filtering or like screening individuals for prior violent
because in a
offenses.
liberal society people don't have enough babies, so you need to immigrate from illiberal societies. You need people to move in from illiberal societies, and you just need to continue.
It's not just people living from it's people moving from anywhere they want to come from.
Yeah.
Well, in general, liberalism doesn't really, encourage baby making. Liberal societies have low fertility rates.
Wait. The higher the
Wait,
quality of life is
how
in
are
a
you
country,
saying?
the higher the quality of life is in a country, the lower their fertility and birth rates are. So I think it's funny that you relate liberalism to higher quality of lives.
Well, most developed countries are liberalized. Yes, that's true, but that doesn't mean it's good.
It
Oh,
literally
okay.
causes higher
So
quality of
higher
lives.
quality of life is bad.
Well, that's not because of liberalism.
Oh, okay. What is it because of?
Monetarism.
So then falling birth rates aren't because of liberalism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Oh,
No, it's
okay.
because of higher qualities of lives. So you either have to say that it's the liberalism that's causing the higher qualities of lives, which is causing a reduction in birth rates, or it's that it's not
True.
because of liberalism, which means it's not because of increases in qualities of life.
Well, when people have better quality of life, they turn towards liberalism because they like to have endless sex, they like to smoke drugs, they like to do
Josh, don't take the
other
$5.
degenerate activities. That.
You don't like
Drugs.
sex?
Oh, I'm waiting for marriage.
I'm sorry for your loss.
That's what I just.
Tim, thank you for the $20. Thank you so much. I appreciate. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for. Actually, you know what? That's better for humanity.
I
Tim,
think.
thank you for $20. Thank you so much.
In my opinion, I think it is important.
I might argue that incel
no,
behavior is not.
Waiting until marriage is
No,
incel behavior.
I mean that's not incel behavior because it's voluntary for him to wait till marriage. But like the point I was saying is that like then he just
Is
no woman has to go through that experience.
Is it voluntary?
You know what I mean? That's preferable. Correct?
I don't think that's voluntary.
Is it voluntary? I mean, okay, I probably would say. I mean, maybe not.
Bro, dude, I can't. It's still so crazy to me that the alt-right like shitheads have just like come to terms with the fact that no woman wants them. So they like proudly call themselves incels. I will never understand why they're so proud about like not being able to get within 50 feet of anybody that would possibly sleep.
No,
with them.
I've been in relationships before, but I haven't had sex before. I am waiting for marriage before sex. I don't believe in like.
Thank you for preserving anyone from that.
Arranged marriage and stuff.
Hey man,
but this is
on a
not-
real note, dude. Like I respect your preference there, but like simultaneously, I think it is like good to not do that. And the reason that I say that is because you'll want to like have some sexual experience under your belt before you get into a marriage, so you as well as your partner
That's just
know
my
what
that's
to
my
expect
personal belief.
from a sex
I
life.
respect your personal belief. I don't encourage you to have the wait till marriage, but that's my personal belief. Just to wait till marriage.
Yeah, we're just saying the
Yeah,
personal
that's
belief.
not
We're
gonna
just saying the personal belief that it's better to know like that you guys are on the same terms for those types of things before.
No, and I'm gonna hopefully marry someone with my beliefs, and maybe it will change. I'm a young kid, maybe as I grow older, maybe I'll change. But just I personally believe that waiting till marriage is better, and it's good for society.
That's all you, but that shit's great.
And I feel like we should have a society that does, believe in God, and
I'm good.
makes people feel.
I'm good. I'm good.
Wait, we could talk about this real quick. About a society that believes in God. Well, okay. Are you arguing that society should believe in God because it will produce better outcomes? for
Yeah,
the
and I-
society? Okay, here's my counter argument to that position. Well, what if a religion that you don't hold to produces better outcomes than the one that you do?
I'm
Like,
not just saying my religion. I'm not saying we
would you say if like being a Mormon produce better outcomes than like being like a non-denominational Christian, that everybody should be Mormon?
well, if you look at it, the U.S. has higher suicide rates than Yemen.
Would you
right?
answer my question?
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about the Mormon religion.
I'm saying if it produced better outcomes than non-denominational Christianity, Orthodoxy, Catholic, the Catholic
Catholicism.
faith, Catholicism, etc., then would you say that everybody in America should be Mormon?
I'm saying everyone should have their own religious belief, but
Okay. So if your reasons, then your reason's not that it produces a better quality of life.
It does,
Oh,
absolutely.
well, okay. If that is your reason, then you'd want everybody to be Mormon if Mormonism produced better outcomes than any other branch of Christianity or any other religion, so far as average qualities of life.
Well, Christianity is true. No, that it isn't. Christianity
Oh,
is
okay. So
true.
then it's not the case that you want everybody to be religious because it produces better outcomes, but rather because it's true.
Well, Christianity is true. It is true. Shrouded.
So now your
Shroud of
argument's
oh
changed.
god.
Now your
And
argument's
then
changed.
also,
Sir.
20 people went to
Okay,
death
so if,
saying
if,
that.
if your argument is that everybody should be Christian because Christianity is true, well then I'll just merely argue that nobody should be Christian because Christianity is not true.
What's not true about it?
It's impossible for a perfect God to create the world that we live in.
20 people went to death saying that Jesus was the real God.
What,
That's all.
do you want to respond to what I just said?
What did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, it's impossible for a perfect God to create an imperfect world.
No, God believes in free will. That's
Well, okay.
You know,
So
if I
does God have free will?
Yeah, God has free will.
Did God have a
God,
choice
God, God
did
is
God have a
good.
hold up? Did God have a choice to create the world or to not create the world?
God created the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so he had a choice. So he chose to go from a state in which was perfect, him existing alone, to a state in which is imperfect, him plus creation, right? He went from a flawless world to a flawed world. Isn't that like contradictory because he would have desired a world that's less desirable?
No, He gave us the chance to live.
No, you didn't listen to what I just said. If it's flawed, it's less desirable than flawless, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was flawless when God existed alone. It was flawed when God existed plus creation.
Okay.
So
Hey,
God chose to go from a flawless state to a flawed state.
Well, because there's good and evil, and they're constantly battling each other. God is the good,
I'm gonna
and
go
evil
ahead
is the bad.
and hop off for the night. I just thought I'd let you know I'm gonna go ahead and drop down.
For sure.
Gotta go make the girlfriend some dinner. So for everyone watching on YouTube, head over to Parker's stream at Parker Get a Job on TikTok, or sorry, on YouTube, or at Parker. Uh, let's see what the ad is on here.
Parker
At
get a real
Parker
job on TikTok.
Job
I
on TikTok.
recommend go to I recommend go to YouTube. It's way better.
And I'm gonna go ahead and drop for the night, you guys. I do apologize for the short stream today. I mean, that's just because we got banned earlier, and I could stay on late, but my girlfriend got the day off, so I'm gonna go hang out with her. And then also Parker, happy birthday, man! Everybody, make
Thank
sure
you,
you're
man.
showing some love to Parker for his birthday, you guys. And I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Peace out, everyone.
Have a good night, man.
You as well.
Let me say thank you to some people real quick, everyone. Lindsay, thank you for the $5. Kathleen, thank you so much for the $5. James, thank you for the $10. Don with the $15. Thank you so much. Linda, thank you for the $20. Thank you so much. Kelly with the $10. Heidi, thank you so much for the $20. And Patricia, thank you so much for the $23. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, everyone. Can we get some fucking W's for people in the comment section who just were donated? And Sydney with the $75 on Venmo. Thank you so much. Can we get some W's for Sydney in the comment section right now for the $75? That is nuts. W's for Sydney in the comment section right now. Thank you so much, Sydney.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Can I respond to your point?
Go ahead.
God gave us free will, and He gave us, the ability to have free will, the ability to choose right or wrong. And if God gave us a perfect society, we couldn't be able to strive to be better people. And I have a question for this: if God's
Wait,
not
but that just doesn't respond to my point. You agreed that it is the case that a flawed existence is less desirable than a flawless existence. God existing alone is by definition a flawless existence if you think that God is perfect. So he went from a flawless existence of him existing alone to a flawed existence of him plus creation. Therefore, he went from a more desirable state to a less desirable state, which is contradictory because you can't say that God desired to go from a state in which is more desirable to a state in which is less desirable because you can't desire something in which is less desirable.
But why would God create a perfect society? Because then we wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't have freedom, and we wouldn't be
Was that a
able
response to my argument?
No.
Contradictory for a perfect God to choose to go from a flawless state to a flawed state.
He did it to give us souls for free will. He did it for free will. If
He had free will already. God is free will. When God existed alone,
I have a question for you. You're atheist?
I'm agnostic atheist, yeah.
So do you believe in a higher being, or no?
No.
Not at all?
Nope.
So how do we have things like empathy? You just think that's brain chemistry?
Biology.
You think that, but what survival skills is empathy? How we have a soul.
It was developed as of evolutionary significance. That descriptively.
What other animals have empathy?
Dolphins, elephants,
Two people outside their family.
huh?
Two people not their newborns or anything. They have
Yeah,
empathy with other
yeah.
animals.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Crows, gorillas,
no.
dogs. Do you think dogs have empathy for you?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, then shut the fuck up.
But I don't know. You have a soul, and I don't know if I can't argue, but you have a soul, and I just think that if you look at the
It
way our
says your live
society,
content contains themes that some may find uncomfortable. Okay, I have to kick you from the live because it will restrict the live. V, thank you so much for the 10 Canadian dollars. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Aries World Domination, for real. Amara, thank you so much for the $50 for Grateful for Your Voice. Happy birthday. Yo, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. Put some W's for everyone in the comment section right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. W's for them in the comments. W's for them in the comments.